Hey guys, today I want to share a quick video about the importance of calling things out and calling it for what it is. And I believe that one reason why President Trump has been so effective in so many ways is because he does that. And he doesn't back down to the lies and the deception, and he calls a spade a spade. And it is like the emperor's new clothes, where, there's, if you don't know the story, somebody sold this emperor on these new clothes that made him so wise and wonderful or something. And it's like, you aren't wise if you can't see the clothes. But the truth was, he just didn't have clothes on. But then once somebody starts saying he's naked, then everyone's like, yeah, he is naked. And then it becomes known. And that is the kind of thing that can happen on the left. So that's racist. And then somebody says, no, that's not. Or more with my channel, with feminism, is you start seeing all these things where the man's opinions don't matter, where it's really minimizing the value of men, minimizing the value of motherhood or classic femininity, minimizing a lot of family, all of those things. When you see that happen, when you hear somebody say something that goes along those lines, first off, in your own head, it starts in your own mind. We need to call it out and be like, oh, right, that's feminism. When I have friends who are so busy, and what they need more than anything is time and margin, but then they decide to go back to school, that's feminist influence. Messing with the family, messing with their validation of where their worth comes from, that makes them think that the school is so important and that's what they need to do, even though they have a role that they already feel strained out of. But no, they feel like the solution is career, when the career was the problem in the first place. And it's feminism. And I'm not going to lie, it's very hard in individual conversations to call it out. But I can say from my experience is that, and I believe you'll find the same thing to be true, leave comments with your take on this. I'd like to just open up the dialogue. But I believe it is easier to start being a bit more bold when we call it out first in our own minds and we identify what it is. We identify what it is. Is it a victim mentality? Is it feminism? Is it postmodernism, where there is no objective truth and so everything is chaos and you aren't allowed to make any kind of real judgments or have any kind of real skill or any kind of real value because everything is just subjective? Figure out what it is. And I've found that since I started recognizing, like postmodernism, for instance, I've started to use that word a lot more. Now, every time anybody says anything related to that, am I like, oh, you are just falling into postmodernism and blah, 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 and that's so horrible? No, but it starts in my own mind to call it out, to identify what is the problem here, what is going on. Or that's Marxist thinking. I see the oppressor versus the oppressed. I see this playing out. That's Marxism. That's theft. When the government holds a gun to your head and says you must pay, or ultimately if you do not pay those taxes, you will go to jail. And if you do not willingly go to jail, they will use a gun to help force you to go to jail. That is theft. You start seeing these things and saying these things, and then everything becomes a whole lot more clear. But when we are hesitant to identify what the real issue is, it's so easy to get confused and deceived. So that's why today I just want to encourage you all to really be bold and courageous, starting in your own mind. But it can be scary when you're not used to that kind of thinking, to start identifying stuff and say, oh my, that is this, that is that. And I don't like that. And I am against a victim mentality. I am against Marxism. I am against socialism. I'm against communism. That one should be easier, but not everybody in the United States agrees, which is frightening. Call it out in your own mind, and I encourage you to try to start questioning people a little bit more in conversations, or even if somebody does sort of open a door to something, to go ahead and go an extra little bit. This happened to me just yesterday with somebody talking about a little bit of a debate of homeschool, and she's kind of like, I don't know if I'm up for the challenge. And I'm like, well, you probably should know that I have a friend who was studying just at a local college, elementary education, and she was having to write a report on gay sex. So apparently that is an important concept to have down as an elementary school teacher. So, like, something to be aware of, something to be aware of. And we need to know this stuff and call it out. The LGBTQ, plus agenda, we have to realize that. And it's not about, should somebody be allowed to have a sex change? It's about forcing. And so I was thinking about this last night of what I really want in the government. And I mean, whatever, maybe I wish there wasn't a government. I'm not sure, but we are so far from that. So I'll just go with what I want in the government is protection of life, liberty, property, and liberty being more so defined by the Bill of Rights, and not aggression. So protection, not aggression. And when I identify that, and then I think through things of, is this forcing somebody? Is it forcing somebody to pay union dues? Is it forcing somebody to pay for something that I don't agree with? Is it forcing somebody to do anything? Then that is not good, and that is aggression. And that is not kindness when it is aggression. And the only time that aggression is warranted is if somebody is being aggressive against somebody else. Not by looks or whatever, but something that is very objective. Like, somebody is being aggressive against me if they put a gun to my head, so I'm allowed to use aggression against them with my gun, right? And that is the philosophy we should be following. And so I just encourage everybody to frame it in that way and to call it out, starting in the way you perceive things, but then try to start questioning people a little bit more, holding up and saying, hold up, that's not right. I have to say something. I don't have to be a total jerk about it, but I need to say something. And I think what's happened is, in the name of tolerance, so many people on the right have kind of just quietly kind of been like, I don't agree with you, but whatever, I want to make the peace. And so then all these other people think everybody thinks like them, and they've never been questioned. And now it's like, what are you doing? And I think we've really dug ourselves in a hole. So I really want us to keep following this path of being more courageous and try to come from a loving place, pray before you say things and whatnot, and think about why it benefits that other person to think differently, and then try to communicate that. But then if what you did or said was out of a place of love, and it was true, and it was helpful and edifying for life, to not feel guilty over courageous, grounded truth speaking, because I think that's what the enemy basically tries to do, is cut out people's tongue by having people self-censor so much that some people really do get through life without even hearing the truth. Okay, usually my channel's a bit more focused on feminism, but today I felt like just saying a little something else. So go ahead, hit that like button if you like this kind of truth, and subscribe as well so you don't miss the next one. All right, bye.